Okay, so here's one of our spinal cord models. We have another one that has a vertebrae. This one does not have a vertebrae. So one of your first jobs when you come up to this model is to figure out which side is anterior and which side is posterior, right? So that you can label your ventricle or your horns and stuff like that. So there's a couple ways you can do this. I usually go for the dorsal root ganglion. So the dorsal root ganglion is on this side, so that means that this is the dorsal posterior side. All right. The other way that you can do it is with this fissure, right, which is your ventral median fissure. Right? And then immediately you're like, okay, now I know which side is anterior, which side is posterior. So starting with our meninges, we have our outer meninge, which is the dura mater. So this is the very durable, protective, anchoring meninge. Right? And then the next one deep to that is the arachnoid mater, and it has these arachnoid trabeculae, which give it kind of a spiderwebby look. And in the subarachnoid space, you have cerebral spinal fluid. So when they take a spinal tap, this is where they're taking the cerebral spinal fluid from. Up against the spinal cord, you have the pia mater, and this is not very protective. It's very fragile, and its function is to plaster the blood vessels up against the column. Now you'll have these same layers in the brain. The only difference is that the dura mater has two layers in the brain. It has the meningeal layer and, oh my gosh, I just blanked. Endosteal? I want to say endosteal layer. Yeah, and then in between those two layers is the dural sinus. So that's the only difference with the brain. For the spaces, right, we already hit the subarachnoid space here. There's also kind of a space between the dura mater and the arachnoid mater. It's more of like a line on this model. So there's this little line, that's your subdural space here. Superficial to the dura mater is the epidural space, and that has fat and blood vessels, and that's where they'll give you epidurals during labor. Okay, what else can we see? I have so much fun. All right, so those are your meninges, but then we can do some spinal cord structures. So the whole thing right here is the spinal cord. So here's your central nervous system. Everything outside is peripheral nervous system. All of the white matter here we call white columns, because these axon tracts run up and down together, and they kind of look like columns.